How does $4,000 gold sound to you? How about $50 silver? Well, what if we said, if this happens, we'll get those prices? Or option two, if that happens, we'll get those prices. And what about if both of those occurrences were to happen? Would we have prices higher than $4,000 gold, $50 silver? Maybe we'd have $80 silver. In this video, we're going to talk about the two this and the one that could happen. And now there's even a bonus factor we're going to throw in that could indicate to us that the future looks super, super bright for the gold price and the silver price. The first thing we're going to talk about is oil. Yeah, oil. Now, you may not realize this, but oil is all around you. I didn't realize this until about a year ago. Somebody pointed out to me, everything you see, look around, plastic, the screen you're looking at, the computer, the cell phone, medicines, all types of things. Oil is everywhere. Oil is huge. How does that relate to gold and silver, you may be asking? Well, it directly relates because the world is moving towards a system where oil and gold are more intertwined with each other, right? We know what's going on in China. We know how they're buying oil now, and it's getting very, very interesting. But there's something that could happen, and this was first brought up by Mr. Zoltan Pulsar from Credit Suisse. Yes, like one of the oldest, used to be one of the most prestigious investment banks in the world. He came up with an idea, with a theory that he had about what Russia just might do with oil and gold, which could easily, overnight, double the price of oil. And we know we're living in a geopolitical, a world environment that has more strife, more trouble than any time in my life. And I'm 53 years old. How old are you? You can share it in the comments if you like, but nonetheless, we're living in a very turbulent period. Gold and oil are intertwined. Here's what we need to think about. Well, let me show you this first, just so you get an idea. That's a graph that shows the size of the crude oil market. Do you see the big ball that says crude oil? That's $2.1 trillion. Thank you for putting your age up there. 111. Wow. You're the oldest guy here, Carl. See the crude oil? $2.1 trillion. You see the little pink arrow? That's the silver market. That's 20 billion per year in silver is produced, as opposed to 2.1 trillion in oil. Think about that. Think about that for a second. The oil market on an annual basis is 100 times bigger than silver. But what about gold, you might ask? Well, gold is about 200 billion. It's the second little ball right there. Now, Zoltan Pulsar came up with a very interesting theory about what the Russians might do. And that would be currently, you get about 1 barrel of oil for each gram of gold. A gram of gold is worth, let's just say for simplicity's sake, $60. And we're going to say a barrel of oil for simplicity's steaks. I wish I had steaks. I had tube steaks for dinner tonight. Hot dogs and knockwurst from Aldi. Anyway, for simplicity's sakes, you get 1 barrel of oil for 1 gram of gold. A gram of gold is approximately 1/30th of an ounce, for reference sake. So for about 1 gram of gold, you get 1 barrel of oil. What Zoltan proposed that the Russians very well may do is change that and say, now you get 2 barrels of oil for each 1 gram of gold. And because the oil market is so much bigger, multiple times bigger than the gold market, what would happen overnight? Suddenly, for 1 gram of gold, You now get $120 worth of oil. That would make the price of gold double. That would make that gram of gold that was worth $60 now be worth $120 because the oil market dominates, guys. Now, nobody says this is imminent or that it could happen anytime soon, but it's something that a number of the top analysts are talking about. And that alone, that's one factor that could lead us directly. Do you talk about an overnight reaction? Well, that would be the overnight reaction. Now, why would Russia do that? Well, that's a great question, right? I don't really know the intricacies of why they would even be considering doing that. But again, we have to recognize the smartest guys in the room. Zoltan Pulsar is a super, super, super smart guy. And he's the one that initially proposed that this could occur. The other big deal, number 2. So if that happens, but let's talk about the big elephant in the room. August 22nd, the BRICS. I read more articles today. More and more people are basically predicting that we're going to get an announcement of a new world reserve currency and that will likely be backed by, yes, you have it, gold. Could that double gold overnight? I don't know. It's going to take some time. That one may take a little more time. I think it would certainly have an immediate, strong impact on the price of gold and silver for that matter. The silver price and the gold price are so intricately intertwined. It's like silver is the little brother to gold. Gold's the big brother leading the way, right? Silver kind of comes along and follows wherever the big brother goes. It's a much easier path. When gold goes up, silver typically goes up. And think about this. If you consider, what do you think it means that like the relationship, right? The silver to gold ratio being near 85 right now. That if you look at that on a chart over time, the difference, how gold has moved, and gold has way outperformed recently silver from a price perspective. If gold takes off, silver's got a lot of catching up to do. We talk about, I think we could hit $40 silver so much faster than any of us realize right now. Silver could move so quickly that it could make our heads spin. I mean, the Chinese want more silver. In Mexico, they've basically outlawed future. This is big for silver, and this is something nobody's talking about. Okay. But it's huge for silver. 25% of the silver is mined in Mexico, comes out of Mexico. Mexico produces 25% of the world's silver. Their president, has basically outlawed any new open pit silver mines, any new open pit mining whatsoever. We had, and I don't know if it's changed, but Newmont has temporarily closed down one of their major silver mines. The supply of silver is being constricted at the same time. You know the story, right? We got to remember, though, it makes us feel warm and fuzzy. Demand for silver continues to go through the roof, and it's only projected to get bigger and bigger, the demand for silver, while the supply is more and more constrained. In Mexico, it's like they don't want mining anymore in Mexico. I talked to the CEOs of the silver mining companies. They are frustrated. That'll be a nice politically correct way to say it. Very, very frustrated with Mexico in regards to how difficult they are making it to mine silver or gold, for that matter, currently in Mexico. It's not a good situation. It's very difficult for these executives to deal with. And, it's going to be a number of years under the best of circumstances, that we could see a loosening or a more reasonable approach in Mexico to mining. Things are insane, Mike says. Hello, Kat Hoffman. Good to see you. 2297. 25% is a lot. Yes, Mexico is a major producer of silver. That's a big deal. Dean's been continuing to buy. 90%. Yes. Red paint leaked into Ron. Yeah, I know. I'm feeling a little shaky. Earlier today, I did paint my hair and face red because I really believed we were going to get. Hey, Mark Razor. Oh, man, thank you so much for that super chat. Always appreciated. Never expected, but that's really a nice gesture. I appreciate it. It goes a long way as I'm the primary breadwinner in this house. And any of those of you out there that are in that position, you know what it's like. And I have two 11-year-old daughters who have a very strong liking for collecting baseball cards. So thank you. I really thought we were going to get to $2,200 gold. And I think we would have had that last 3 weeks before the Fed meeting. Things got wonky, and I don't know. I don't want to go down that road. I'm not happy with Jerome. I'm so unhappy with Jerome Powell. I'm not going to get his box out to show him to you. But I think I've already said this earlier today. I'm going to say it again. Watch what they do, not what they say. There's a big, big difference. Who knows? Has the silver market, it's open. Where are we at? Is that $22.97? Is that the spot price on silver right now? That's not so bad. We're moving in the right direction. Hey, Steven, thank you for the super chat. $75 silver. I'll tell you what, when we get $85 silver, thank you, Steven. Super generous of you, and I appreciate it. When we get $85 silver, guys, we are going to have a big, big party. Look, I opened my big mouth about painting my face and hair red. I'll open my big mouth that when we get to $85 silver, we are going to have a big, big party. People talk about, when would you sell your silver, Ron? When would you sell it? I've never sold an ounce of silver in my entire life. I might just sell a few ounces to help subsidize a big party for the Ron's Basement crew, the basement dwellers, when we get to $85 silver. And it's going to happen. I bet Susie would even approve of that. She'd probably let me out of the basement, although you guys might want to come here for the big party. I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out. Gary Gensler stepping down from the SEC for corruption. Yes, Dinar, big party in Ron's basement. So CoinShop Chris talked about a $1 million sale last week that they did at his shop. He shared that in last week's live stream. $1 million. That's the thing. And I'm hearing this from other big retailers out there, bullion dealers, that the big sellers are still buying. And think about this. Now, we're going to get back to CoinShop Chris. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Think about this. We're hearing about major still, right? There's still big purchases coming through, right? $1 million sales, $2 million sales. Another guy told me about a $500,000 sale. Big sales are going on the retail level for bullion. What about on the investment, on the institutional side, the guys that would maybe get their silver from the COMEX or the LBMA? Do you think those? Yes. Every indication we have is that those vaults are being drained. So, I don't know. It's easy to get frustrated. Do you ever find yourself getting frustrated? It's easy to get frustrated when you're investing in silver, but we got to keep our eyes on the big picture, and things look good, huh? I mean, really, it's a bright future. Let's call CoinShop Chris. We're going to talk about the $1 million sale. We're also going to talk about buying silver. He's got something very keen, and I can read it as well here. And we're going to talk about what we think is the best value right now for people who are looking to buy silver and do it at a very, very low premium. So I'm going to be looking at the camera and talking and trying to call CoinShop Chris at the same time. Here we go. Oops. Hold on, I got to put you on. Where's speaker? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, you're on. You're on. Hey, we got another super chat. Wow, Stacking Surfer.
Awesome.
Isn't that nice, Chris? Thank you, Stacking.
Very, very nice.
Love the channel. Come on Gold Silver sometime, and I think you'll enjoy. Okay, we got a new channel we need to check out, Chris. The Stacking Surfer. I'll go check that out when we get done here. Wow, thank you, my friend. So, Chris, what's going on, Mr. Coin Shop Chris?
Hang on, let me turn down the volume for a minute. Wow, did I lose you?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to turn the volume.
What's going on?
Okay.
Yeah, it was like screaming right in my ear, but that's fine now. But anyways, the $1 million sale. If anybody missed the video that Ron and I did, we asked what you think the shop made. So before I answer that question, if everybody can put in the comments what you think the shop made. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint now before people start putting the comments. It's made $1,000 to $80,000. So let the comments fly, Ron. You know the number. If you see the number, just let the person know they actually got it right.
So it was $1 million sale, and we know these coin shops out there, they're just making tons and tons of profit, right, Chris? And you're going to share with us what the profit level actually was on $1 million sale, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
I'll get that to you in a minute after some comments come through. I cannot see the comments, but we will see.
Okay. All right. We got 5,000, 59,000, 7,000. Anybody else want to guess? How much did the shop make on a 1,050,000? Richard Cooper, our friend Richard Cooper in the United Kingdom, 27,000. Mary Radcliffe, 11. Dean R, 9. Mark Razor, 22. Adam Stand by the Jams, 100. Mim MR, 3,000. D Fristo, 10,000. Original Intent, 20,000. Frank says 20,000. Frank and Silver. Chef Stacker says 47,500. PT Graphics says 7,000. Steve Lentz says 175,000.
Okay, well I'm going to tell everybody what it was now.
Well, why don't you talk about the eBay comment, and then I'll look.
Okay.
We got Stacking Surfer. Hold on, Stacking Surfer says 45,000. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
So there was a comment hour on our last video we just did this morning, Ron. We actually shot it on Friday, but you posted it this morning. There was a good eBay comment. I know there's some people that won't want to buy from eBay for whatever reason, but you and I talk about a lot, Ron, about bullion exchanges, AtMax. All these big companies have an eBay store. And a lot of times they're cheaper on eBay versus their own websites. Now, Glenn had a perfectly good comment on this one, and I got to give him a shout out. If you go buy from AtMax bullion exchanges from their website, there's a problem. You may not have a recourse to get your money back if there's any issue or a problem. It says right in, every bullion dealer has this right in there. You're kind of at your own mercy with them. With eBay, they kind of will back up the buyer more than the seller. So if you have a problem, even with AtMax, bullion exchanges, Liberty Coin, whatever bullion companies on eBay, Pinehurst is another one, you have a little bit more of a recourse if there's an issue with your item.
Yeah, and I think what he said, and it was a great point that neither you or I had ever really thought of, is if I go to my local coin shop and buy something and come home and discover something about it I don't like a magnet sticks to it or something like that, and I go back, I don't really have anybody standing up for me or in my corner. And what you're saying is what's different, or if I buy something through one of the big online retailers, right? There's nobody besides me standing in my corner. Whereas when you buy something through eBay, there is a certain level of buyer protection that can help you if there is a problem. Rarely are there problems, but if there is a problem, you've got that extra level of assurance.
No, that was a great point that I didn't even think of myself. I should have thought of that myself.
Yeah.
But that was just an excellent point that viewer were made, and I want to give him Glenn. Thank you very much. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're on listening, or you're on listening after this, thank you, because that really, that comment really stuck out, and I appreciate all the comments that on Ron in my videos. You guys are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys have some good comments. Thank you for everybody who does a super chat. We all appreciate that. I know Ron does.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now, Chris,
anyways,
let's move on to talking about the 40% coins, because you've got some interesting comments on that. It happens to be what I think right now for me. That's what I'm buying, are 40% silver coins. But why don't you share with me your thoughts on that?
Well, you and I have talked about this a lot, Ron, about the 40%, with silver kidney $half.
Yeah.
They're the cheapest silver around. I'm noticing other channels are starting to talk about this. Other coin shops that some of these other YouTubers are going in, they're saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody realize these things are cheap right now. These are cheap. I just ordered some more on eBay from a private seller at $3.52, and I got another tube at $3.50 each. They're melting for $3.38.
Yeah, and just
the last time I checked.
And just to give people an idea, like if you buy a last I checked, like a UK Britannia or a Australian kangaroo coin, which are beautiful coins, I love them. Don't get me wrong, Philharmonic, any of those, you're typically paying 20 to 25% above the spot price. Now, the American Silver Eagles are in a league of their own. Just they're prohibitively more expensive. And when you're buying these 1965 to 1969 Kennedy half dollars, which are 40% silver and 60% copper, you're typically paying about 5% or less over the melt value or the spot price, however you want to say it. And you're getting some copper. I like to call them.
And you're not even paying for the copper. You're paying for the silver content only in this.
Yeah. I mean, you're not getting a real huge, but you're getting copper. I like to call them the electrification coin, because everybody says we need a lot of copper and we need a lot of silver. Well, there you go. The 1965, 1969 Kennedy, and they're beautiful coins. And they could get...
Before all the comments go flying up, because they do make them in 1970, yes, we both realize that, but most of those are done. All of those were done in proofs.
Yeah,
the 1970s.
Now,
so if you see,
let me interject, because this is a legitimate criticism of the coin as well. We always want to show you both sides of the coin. Pardon the pun. That coin is not loved by refiners. And I'm not a metal smelting, refining expert, but I've talked to several refiners, and they say, yeah, we grimace when we get them in. We'll take them in, but they're not as easy to melt down because they're only 40% silver. So that's the knock on them. But to me, that's not a big enough knock that I don't feel like I'm getting silver for a good price. But Carl, yeah.
When silver does take it off, we can put any number we want out there. So let's just use the $85 silver threshold that we both have, Ron.
Right.
They're gonna melt for over $12, $12.55, I believe the melt value would be roughly on them at $85 silver. So if you're picking them up for $3.52 now we start getting to triple digit silver.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just going to go up and more, like everything else will.
We can throw a real big party for that much.
I strongly recommend everybody get a couple rolls at least in their stack.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I mean, you might be...
Up, Chris?
People used to thumb their nose at 90%.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to get now.
Right.
So, I'm stacking the 40 along with the 90.
All right, Chris. So you're the bullion. What's the word I'm looking for? The bullion millionaire, right? You guys had $1 million sale. I believe the surfing stacker, our friend, who was kind enough to give us a super chat, the stacking surfer, Let's. You want to announce the winner of who guessed the closest, Chris?
The actual number was $43,000 even. That's only 4.3%
profit margin. Stacking Surfer, I think, takes the prize. He guessed 45,000. So, yeah, and that's a lot of money, $43,000. But like you said, from a profit margin perspective, is that to me that's low and that's very reasonable. These coin shops are not making a killing. Sometimes they are, right? Especially on the numismatic coins, but on big sales, the day to day, and you're not making a killing, right, Chris?
That's right. And, there was one comment that actually got it right on the video we did, Ron. And I believe Adrian was if I remember right, guessed it right on the nose.
Okay.
So I want to give him a shout out. But, people think for $43,000 money, yeah. But again, it's one sale at $1 million sale,
right?
And the owners, the people who actually got it from us, own a local restaurant here.
Yeah,
and they were shocked, and they kind of asked, what's your profit margin? And we told them,
right?
But we got nothing to hide, and they were shocked. It's only 4.3%.
Yeah.
I mean, if when people come in and they buy, 2 or 3 ounces of silver, and you're only making, we probably make a little bit more, close to 5.5%. But I mean, we have to do volume to make anything. The more volume we do, more ounces go out the door, the more the shop makes.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of times, and I may even be guilty of it as well. I'll go to buy a UK Britannia, and spot silver's at $23, and my local coin shop selling it for $28. And I just automatically, without thinking, assume well, they're making $5, right? And that's not the case.
No, they're probably making $1.50, maybe even $2 off you.
They might even be losing money if they bought it a month earlier. If silver was $3 or $4 an ounce higher, right? They could even be losing money on the deal. I mean, that happens as well.
If anybody's really thinking, with your size stack, you may or may not have, some people have a lot more saying, and, I've heard this comments in other videos, on different channels, I should say. I'm going to open my own coin shop. Well, you might want to think twice about doing that, because you really need a lot of capital behind you to do this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you really need $5-10 million of capital,
right?
To have to survive in this business, because if you get something from your bone dealer and the spot price goes down, you can't sell a lot. You're going to get more.
Right.
That inventory back for a little bit until that price comes back up, so you can make your 50 cents a dollar an ounce.
Yeah.
So I just want to get that out there, because if it was me today trying to open a new coin shop, I wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
I wouldn't be doing it in today's market. It's just there's no money there. So, is there anything else, Ron?
Nope, that'll do it, Chris. I'm gonna kind of wrap up here talking about what we discussed the other day. Some good ideas for people when they're buying silver, when they're starting out their stack, but we appreciate you, and on behalf of all the viewers, thank you for joining us again. It's awesome.
Thank everybody again. Have a happy 4th of July, everybody. Ron and I might not make a video this week coming up. We both have a lot of things going on, but feel free to reach out if you have a question for me in the meantime. Ask me in the comments. You can email me, Ron, and Ron will forward it to me like he did tonight with somebody else.
Yeah.
I'll answer you back. No problem.
All right, buddy. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ron. We will talk to you, everybody, soon.
All right, everybody say thank you, Coin Shop Chris. And I want to mention, before I forget, I don't mention this in every video, We aren't sponsored by eBay. We aren't sponsored by any coin shop. We don't have a link for you to click on. This is just our opinion, not financial advice, okay? But you can rest assured we aren't selling anything. As you can tell, CoinShop Chris does not do mail orders. So he's not trying to get you to call him or contact him so he can sell you silver, anything like that. Just our opinion. Again, that's, I think, a great point that one of our commenters brought up was that an added benefit to buying through eBay is you do get that buyer protection if there is a problem. And a lot of times the prices on eBay are as good or better than what you're going to get going directly through some of these big company websites. And I can't emphasize enough, I get this question all the time. How much silver should I have? What's the appropriate amount? I always answer that question by saying, I'd think 6 months worth of living expenses is a good amount to have. 6 months worth of your living expenses. If things got really bad and you had silver that was enough for you to live, to pay your expenses for 6 months, you'd be in good shape. The other thing to remember about that is if things got real bad, we might see a situation where the value of silver, the relative value of silver, way outperforms things like even food or other hard assets, and you could find yourself that what was 6 months worth of living expenses in silver a year ago is now equal to 2 years worth of living expenses or more, right? We don't know how all that will play out. And I always recommend dollar cost averaging in. Buy a little bit here and there. Buy a little bit. I got a great email from one of our viewers earlier today, Larry. I'm actually going to make a whole video out of it because he went through step by step what he does, his ideas, his strategy, and how he executes to build his silver stack. And I thought it was chock full of some great information. You gotta have a steady pattern to your buying, right? Dollar cost averaging over time. Trust me, I can tell you from experience, you're going to come out ahead. Now, the other thing about silver, silver investors are crazy, right? Right? Talk to any coin shop. When the price is shooting up, when it's more expensive, that's when people buy it. What? What are you thinking? What? Come on, and I think everybody's a little guilty of that. I understand. When the price goes down, when it's on sale, nobody buys it. It's the same silver. Look. This is the same 1 ounce of silver. When silver was $26 an ounce on May 5th, just 6 weeks ago? Same 1 ounce that it is today when silver's $23. Okay? It's a better deal today, but people won't buy it when it's on sale. If you have discipline, right? You're smart about it. You can buy it when it's on sale, right? And you're never going to catch the bottom. Don't expect yourself. Everybody on the planet will tell you, after I buy it, I could have waited and got it a little cheaper, right? Sometimes you might get the exact bottom. I'll be honest with you. I bought what to me was a pretty big amount of silver on the Saturday after the health crisis. Really, when the poop hit the fan back in March of 2020, I bought some over the weekend. Remember when silver, I think, was like $12 an ounce or something like that. I got lucky there, right? But trust me, I've made other buys where 2 weeks later, silver's $2 an ounce cheaper. It happens to everybody, but if you're steady and you're buying over time, you're gonna be okay. I mean, there's no other way around it. Supply and demand, Mark Razor says. Well, if we're talking about silver and we're talking about supply and demand, let me just remind you, the Silver Institute last year said we were short 250 million ounces. And guess what? The year before, I think it was 200 million ounces. Those shortages sucked up, all of the surpluses of the prior 11 years. I'm ready for some questions and answers. Anything you guys want to talk about. I am overwhelmed with the generosity of the super chats. That's awesome. I really would like to get to 100 thumbs up. That would be great. Huh? We're at 76. I'll ring the bell 10 times for you when we get to 100 thumbs up. If we can get there. Huh? Do you think we can? Dollar cost average. Yes, yes. Demand and supply. When buying, watch the spot price every day and track it. Yes. You definitely want to watch that spot price. You definitely want to make sure that that you're trying to buy on the way down. I mean, okay, Stacking Surfer, you got me thinking about 40% silver gum. Where's the best place to get Santa Bernard? So other stores that have a sell on that right now. I don't. I buy my 40% at my local coin shop. Scotsman coin here in St. Louis. I think over the weekend I just happened to look. It was like $7.05 for each $1 face. And again, before I buy, I always calculate what the premium is, and I always find that on that 40% silver, I'm only paying maybe a 4 or 5% premium, which is a good deal. My hair is no longer red because I washed it twice, and then I went swimming at the neighborhood swimming pool. Mark Razor says, Ron, nobody talks about 925 silver. Yeah, nobody does. You're right. Here's a great book. Let me tell you, I haven't talked to him in a while, but here's a great book, 925 Thrift. You can get this on Amazon. I read it, and it goes through the whole, it's got a great history of silver. It's a real easy to read book, but it gives you all these great tips about how you can find silver in the most unlikely places. Like grandma's attic or the Goodwill store, or I had a guy email me the other day, said he found a whole set of sterling silver flatware at like a Goodwill store, and he paid like $7, $8 for it. So yes, that definitely happens. Coin Shop Chris says that's a good book. Yes, C130. Good to see you, Buddy Rumble. Hey, Buddy Rumble, the Louisiana Gold Guru. You guys, you know what? Buddy and I had a video out over the weekend. He's the Louisiana Gold Guru. I'm telling you, he called this $1,900 gold, which we hit like while we were making the video. So if you want to be mad at somebody, I'm just joking around. We love you, Buddy. But Buddy's the one. He said like 5 weeks ago, oh, gold's going to go to 1900, silver's going to go to 22. And this guy's got a crystal ball on top of it all. So, but if I got it correct, Buddy, why don't you chime in and tell us, when you look at your crystal ball, where do you see the price of gold and silver, let's say exactly 6 months from now, the 2nd of January, 2024? Hey, we almost got 100 thumbs up, man. You guys are treating me well. Yes, Buddy has a working crystal ball. He's shown it on previous messages. Dan McCumber's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You guys are everywhere, and that is awesome. Thank you so much. If I haven't mentioned already, please, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing to Ron's Basement. I put out a new content, valuable video every single day for the rest of your life. You got to deal with me, all right? There's 100 thumbs up. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you, guys. You are awesome. No doubt about it. So, yeah, this book, very good. Very interesting book. And a really nice guy that wrote the book. Hold on. Oh, you know what? Let me tell you something. This is interesting. Hold on a second. This is interesting. I got all this paper, all this research we're doing. This gets interesting. You know, right? You know silver, you know gold. You know they've been valuable like for the millennia. That means for thousands of years. I actually looked that up. Gold and silver have been valuable for thousands of years. Everywhere also. Universally. Those are two reasons why we know when we hold, right? There's nothing like holding an ounce of silver in your hand. I don't have any gold to hold, but nonetheless, when you hold that in your hand, that's been valuable for thousands of years and everywhere on the planet. I hate to keep bringing up Buddy, but I will. Buddy Rumble brought up a good point 3 weeks ago, something else that we often forget about silver. Excuse me, and gold. Valuable everywhere, valuable for thousands of years, but you know what? They're also apolitical. We're in a period right now in the world where there's so much strife and argument and disagreement and war and conflict and change, bifurcation, right? The world is splitting, the BRICS, we talked about that earlier. Silver and gold are also apolitical. That means they're not political. They've survived those thousands of years, maintained their value. It doesn't matter if it was a monarchy, it doesn't matter if it was a democracy, it doesn't matter if it was communism, it doesn't matter if it was fascism, it doesn't matter if it was a dictatorship, it doesn't matter if it was a commune, it doesn't matter. Yeah, right? They've survived every political party known to man, right? The Democrats, the Republicans, the Freemasons, whatever, right? That's something we forget and maybe is right in front of our face right now. That's probably one of our biggest risks, right? Geopolitical risk, and gold and silver have seen it all. They've seen it all many, many times. And it's like, hey, no problem. We can deal with that. Ron said war. Yeah, Susie, is it war? War. Is it war or war? Will you help me with that? I get a lot of trouble from Susie about wearing the red shirt, and then she also doesn't like the way I say war or Putin or Putin. I don't know. Putin, war. I don't know. Mexico has stopped exporting silver. Very interesting. That's Chef Stacker from L.A. I think Mexico is lowballing us. Yeah, Mexico is making the silver market very interesting. Now, no WhatsApp. Thank you. Yeah, guys, this is key because I don't want you to get scammed, okay? If you want to get in touch with me, I encourage you to send me an email. You can comment on the videos. We read all the comments. We appreciate it. But if you want to get in touch with me, ronsbasementsilver@gmail.com. That's always in the description of every video and every live stream like we're doing right now. I will never ask you to contact me on WhatsApp. I actually do have a WhatsApp. I just had to. But anyway, I will never, ever. So those are scammers. And I don't know what they ask you then. Maybe I should contact one of them and say, how can I help you? But they're scammers. So I will never try to contact. It happens to I wouldn't say I'm a big YouTube channel. I'm big Ron. Big. It happens to all the big YouTube channels. The scammers come in. Okay. Thank you. Somebody said war. It's pronounced war. War. Please, if I'm saying that correctly, type 1. World War I. World War II. Like I wore my pants. I don't know why it's spelled W-A-R. To me, that's war. Okay, I'll never do that again until the next live stream. I will, for the rest of this live stream, pronounce it war. How about the food shortages? Jeez, it just gets worse and worse. If we're not having a drought, which we are, I mean, the country, the United States, is in a state of drought. Canada's got drought conditions. Crop production's way down. We're barreling down the tracks towards a situation where maybe there won't be food missing from the grocery stores, but what's there is going to be even that much more expensive, and there's not a darn thing that Jerome Powell can do about it. period. Okay, that's called supply side inflation, created by the fact that the supply of the product or service that is inflating, the supply has shrunk, and we're having like low crop yields. Talk to a farmer, talk to wheat farmers in Kansas, talk to peach farmers in Georgia. They're down 80%. Talk to orange farmers down in Florida. They're down 50%. Talk to farmers in Australia. They're down because of drought and heat. Talk to a farmer in the Ukraine, right? What do you think he's going to tell you? Oh, I didn't plant my fields. I didn't know what's going to happen. I don't even know if I can sell it if I do get a crop. So when the supply of food shrinks, that's supply. Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve can't fix that with monetary policy. We just went through some inflation that was more based upon the fact that they created 50% more dollars during the little health crisis in 2020. Right? But if we get that, think about that. Think about, I don't want to be doom and gloom too bad, but just consider what could happen in the next 6 months if we have massive food inflation. Okay. And I think there'll be food in the United States, but we have to feel empathetic towards the developing world, because that's where they're saying there could be big problems. Parts of Africa where they don't have the money to import the food. It could get bad, and that's not good. We don't want people to starve and suffer in violence and all that. But if we have food inflation here in the United States, and what about oil? Did I pronounce that right? Oil? What about oil? Oil. Oil. Everybody seems to think the price of oil is going up. And that is, like we talked about, where's my picture? Well, I don't know. I lost my picture. But anyway, oil is a massive market. It's the biggest market in the world. It is the lifeblood of the world economy. If oil shoots up at the same time as food, and again, Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve can't control the price of oil.